The Department of World Languages and Cultures at Georgia State University presents Arabic 1001 Grammar. In this third part of the course, we're talking about simple sentences. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the fronted predicate, al-khabar al-muqaddam, and in this first part of the lesson, we're going to discuss prepositions. This lesson has several goals: to learn about prepositions and how to use them in the predicate of a sentence, to learn the very basics of what's called the majrur or genitive case, to learn how to flip the subject and predicate to create there is, there are sentences, to learn how to say to have properly, and to continue to understand the roots and patterns of Arabic words. Let's begin where we often begin, with our book. We know that hadha kitab means this is a book. We go from definite to indefinite. We can say al-kitab ala al-maktab, where ala is a preposition, which means against or on top of. It has a lot of other idiomatic meanings as well, and this means the book is on the desk. As we learned before, a prepositional phrase is a very common way to begin the khabar or second half of a sentence. We can look at our page. Hadhihi waraqa, this is a page. Al-waraqa bijanib al-qalam. Bijanib is a preposition, next to. Janib is side of something, bijanib, beside, al-qalam, the pen. So the page is next to the pen. We can look at this hardworking engineer here, and we can say tilka ukhtuk, that is your sister. Ukhtuk fish shughul. Shughul is a new word, work or job. If we put the preposition fi, in or at or within, before it, we get fish shughul. Notice that we run them together. We don't say fi al-shughul, we don't say fi ash-shughul, we say fish shughul, and that means your sister is at work. We can look at this young man here and say dhalik sadiquk, that is your friend. We can say sadiquk kharij al-bayt. Al-bayt is house, of course. Kharij means outside, so your friend is outside the house. Again, for an English speaker, these don't present real problems. So let's discuss prepositions, which in Arabic are called huruf al-jar, pulling letters. Prepositions determine relationships between nouns in space or time. They don't tend to translate well one-to-one from Arabic to English or vice versa. So you're going to have to learn many idiomatic usages of prepositions. Some prepositions attach to their following nouns, like bijanib. So fil bayt, in or at the house or at home. Bijanib, here's the bi at the beginning that attaches to the word al-janib, the side, so beside. Lid dirasa, here the preposition li replaces the alif in the alif lam of ad-dirasa, and qabla as-saf, before class. Let's ask a new question. Aina, aina means where. Aina al-murabba, where is the square? Literally, where the square. And here we have the square next to the circle. So we can use the sentence al-murabba bijanib ad-da'ira. The square is next to or beside the circle. We can say here that al-murabba amam ad-da'ira. The square is in front of the circle. Once you translate them, they work pretty much like English prepositions do. And here we have al-murabba khalfa ad-da'ira. The square is behind the circle. We can ask the question again. Aina al-murabba, where's the square? And here, al-murabba fawqa ad-da'ira. Fawqa means over or above, so the square is over the circle. Here the square is beneath the circle, so we say al-murabba taht ad-da'ira. Tahta is beneath or below or under. So these prepositions are pretty simple to learn and shouldn't present any problem to you except for the vocabulary. We can ask it again. Aina al-murabba, where's the square? Here we have al-murabba as-saghir dakhil ad-da'ira al-kabira. That's a lot of words for a first-year student, but it's really not that big of a deal. Al-murabba as-saghir, the small square. Dakhil means inside. Ad-da'ira al-kabira, the big circle. Here it's outside. Al-murabba as-saghir kharij ad-da'ira al-kabira. Kharij means outside, just like dakhil means inside. we can ask the same question and get the same answer, only this time we're going to do it in fancy Arabic, and this will have us introduce something new. So here we're going to say, المربع الصغير داخل الدائرة الكبيرة, which is a bit of a mouthful and sounds fancy even to a native speaker, but is just fancy for how to say the small square is inside the big circle. However, while al-murabba as-saghir is the subject of this sentence, so it's in the marfu' case, the default case, and they have single dhammas because they're both definite, ad-da'ira al-kabira gets marked with single kasras. And the reason for this is we do have a reason for these two words to be in a different case. Nouns that come immediately after prepositions are always in what's called the majrur, or in English, the genitive case, and they get marked with kasras, where words in the marfu' case get marked with dhammas. By putting the preposition in the sentence, we've essentially changed the grammatical role of the noun ad-da'ira, the circle, in a way that we just don't think about nouns in English. And you can get away without thinking about them much this way in Arabic as well, especially at first. But it really behooves you to learn this now, because going back and relearning it later is going to be a real pain for you. So again, ad-da'ira is in what's called the majrur, or genitive case, because it immediately follows a preposition, and then al-kabira just agrees with it. So here we have the same sentence, al-murabba'u as-saghiru kharij ad-da'irati al-kabirati. So the first two words are in the marfu' case, because we have no reason for them to be in either of the other two. But the last two words are in the majrur, or genitive case, because they immediately follow a preposition, and therefore they get marked with single kasras instead of single dhammas. So then, let's discuss the majrur, or genitive case. Sometimes we call it hal al-jar, the state of pulling. Sometimes we call it majrur, pulled, or usually pulled down. Nouns that come after prepositions, and there are other usages for this as well, are always in the majrur case. The word majrur literally means pulled down. Definite nouns are marked with a single kasra. Indefinite nouns are marked with the tanween al-kasr character, which is pronounced in. So if we look at these examples, fil bayti, in or at the house. Al-bayt immediately follows the preposition fi, so it's in the majrur case. It gets a single kasra because it's definite. Fi baytin, in or at a house. Bayt here is indefinite, so it gets marked with this little double kasra character. His name is tanween al-kasr, just like the double dhamma is tanween ad-dhamm, and this character is pronounced in. So we say fi baytin. Dakhil al-ghurfati, inside the room, because dakhil is a preposition, al-ghurfa is in the majrur case, and it gets marked with a single kasra because it's definite. Kharij ghurfatin, kharij is a preposition, so ghurfa is in the majrur, or genitive case. Because it's indefinite, it gets marked with the tanween al-kasr character, which is pronounced in. Kharij ghurfatin, outside a room. So let's continue to ask this idiotic question, Aina al-murabba, where's the square? So here the square is inside the circle, so you shouldn't be surprised that we see the word dakhil in the middle of the 5 words. And we say, al-murabba as-saghiru dakhil da'iratin kabiratin. Here the small square is inside a big circle. Now we have al-murabba and as-saghir have their single dhammas because they're both definite, and because we have no reason to take them out of the marfu' case. But da'ira and kabira, da'ira is our noun, it comes immediately after a preposition, so it's in the majrur case, and it's indefinite, so we mark it with the tanween al-kasr character, which looks like a double kasra and is pronounced in, da'iratin kabiratin. Here we have al-murabba as-saghiru kharij da'iratin kabiratin, which is the exact same sentence, only this time the square is outside the circle. Again, the first 2 words get single dhammas because there's no reason for them not to be in the marfu' case, and they're both definite. whereas the final two words get their tanween al-kasr character because they are in the majrur case because they immediately follow a preposition, and they are both indefinite. So, da'iratin kabiratin, a small circle in fancy Arabic. We can ask the same silly question again, only this time we're going to talk about the colors of the objects. Al-murabbu al-ahmaru dakhil ad-da'iratil khadra'a. So the red square is inside the green circle. Both the first two words are in the marfu' case because there's no reason for them not to be. They get marked with single dhammas because they're definite. The noun ad-da'ira immediately follows a preposition, so it's in the majrur case, and it's also definite, so it gets marked with a single kasra. However, the word al-khadra, green, should agree completely with its noun, but because it belongs to a class of nouns called diptotes or mamnu' min as-sarf, when it would normally take a kasra as a case ending, it takes a single fatha instead, because Arabic is always needlessly complicated. And if you're a first-year student, you don't need to totally worry about this. It's just good knowledge to have in the back of your head. If we make the circle indefinite, al-murabbu al-ahmar kharij da'iratin khadra'a, here we have the red square is outside a green circle. Again, the first two words have single dhammas for the reasons we've explained before. Da'ira, because it's in the majrur case, because it follows the preposition kharij, gets the tanween al-kasr character because it's indefinite, so we say da'iratin, and instead of saying khadra'in, because khadra belongs to this certain class of patterns, it takes a single fatha instead. Words that belong to this class of patterns cannot take tanween endings and take fathas where they would normally take kasras. In English, we call them diptotes as opposed to triptotes. Diptotes take only two case markings. In Arabic, we call them mamnu' min as-sarf, which means something like conjugation prevented. Certain noun and adjective patterns behave differently in the case system. They cannot take tanween endings and take a fatha when they're in the majrur case instead of a kasra. And this is something you should gradually learn via osmosis and not worry about as a first-year student. So we can say Baytun azraqu, a blue house. Azraq is one of the patterns that behaves in this manner, so instead of taking a tanween ending, it takes a single dhamma. Fil baytil azraqa, here al-bayt comes after a preposition, so it's in the majrur case, but al-azraq, while it's supposed to be agreeing with bayt, cannot take a kasra ending and takes a fatha instead. Thanks, Arabic, for being this complicated. Fi baytin azraqa, here we have in a blue house. Here we have in a blue house. Bayt, because it is both indefinite and in the majrur case, takes the tanween al-kasr ending, and we have fi baytin, but azraq gets a single fatha because it can't take tanween endings and it takes a fatha where it would normally take a kasra. And then fi masajida kathiratin, in many mosques. So masajid is one of the patterns that behaves in this manner. So instead of taking tanween al-kasr like it ought to, because it's both indefinite and coming after a preposition, it takes a single fatha instead. However, it hasn't changed case. It's still in the majrur case, and it's still indefinite. So kathira needs to agree with that and take tanween al-kasr instead of a single fatha. Again, Arabic is often ludicrously overcomplicated. You can mostly get away without knowing this at your level, but it's good knowledge to have in the background. Sometimes the kasra ending of the majrur case will change the way a possessive pronoun is pronounced. So we can say tilka ukhtuk, that is your sister, and we can say ukhtuk fi mektabiha. We have a single kasra here because mektabiha is definite because it has a possessive pronoun ending and it follows a preposition, so it's in the majrur case. So that's why we see the single kasra there. Your sister is in her office. Here we have this gentleman here. We can say dhalika sadiquk, that is your friend. And we say sadiquk kharij baytihi, not baytihu. We say beite because beit is definite because it has a possessive suffix and it comes after the preposition kharij, so it's in the majrur case. That's why we have a single kasra. However, Arabic does not allow us to say ihu for some strange reason. So instead of saying beitihu, we have to say beitihi. And this is just one of the many strange things about Arabic. And this thing will come up a great deal, so it's worth paying attention to now. So prepositions and pronouns. Again, the case marking goes between the noun and a possessive pronoun. Arabic won't let you say ihu. You have to say ihi instead. And this will change the pronunciation of many words with pronoun suffixes. This is another thing you should just learn via osmosis, like the case system in general. So we say beituhu al-jadidu, his new house. We have no reason for these words not to be in the marfu' case, so we leave them in the marfu' case. We say fi beitihi al-jadidi. Beit now comes after the preposition fi, so it's in the majrur case instead of the marfu' case. And that's why we say fi beitihi, because we can't say ihu. We can't say beitihu. We have to say beitihi instead. Thanks, Arabic. We say fi beitihi al-azraqa. Again, azraq, like all the other masculine colors, is one of the word patterns that can't use kasra endings, and that's why we have a fatha instead. And then lastly, we have fi beitiha. The ha doesn't change. You can say iha, you can't say ihu. No idea why. Al-azraqa, again, that pattern cannot change. Again, this is something you should learn via osmosis. It's here more or less for the purposes of completeness. So let's learn some prepositions. Here are some of the most common prepositions in Arabic. Fi means in or at or within. It has a lot of other meanings as well. All of these have a lot of idiomatic meanings. Ala means against or on top of. It has a lot of idiomatic meanings. Min means from or among. Ila means to or toward. Bi, which attaches to the next word, and therefore it shouldn't have a second crescent here, but I can't make PowerPoint do that while still retaining the kasra. It's driving me crazy. So bi means with an object, like I'm going to hit you with a chair, and it also has a lot of idiomatic meanings as well. The preposition an has no direct equivalent in English and a lot of highly idiomatic meanings. Just learn to recognize it for now. Ma'a means with, but only with a person, like I'm going with my friend to the store. And li means belonging to or in order to. It also attaches to the next word, and it really shouldn't have its full tail, but again, I can't make PowerPoint do that. Here are a bunch of prepositions that are much more directly translated into English. Fawqa means above or over. Tahta means under or underneath. Amam, which is where we get the word imam, like the imam in a mosque who stands in front of everybody else. Khalfa means behind. Bijanib, next to, literally beside. Dakhil means inside. Kharij means outside. Qabla means before. Ba'da means after. Khilal means during. So those are your time prepositions for now. And then the noun ash-shughul means your work or job. For now, learn to recognize prepositions, start sorting out what they mean and where they go in sentences, and understand that nouns that follow prepositions are going to be pronounced a little bit differently because they're in the majrur case.